let's keep with that discussion about audience and think about some other things. Audience is going to change the tenor of your presentation. Your presentation may be more formal or more casual depending on your audience. Your humor can be different. Whether you use props can be different. Your visual aids can be different. Keep in mind that things like PowerPoint, some people love it, some people hate it. Know if your audience likes it and if they're expecting it before you insert it. Also, who is the audience? Why are they there? What do they like? All right, if you're presenting to a group of seniors, that's going to be very different than presenting to a group of coworkers. I was fortunate enough, I guess, to present to my son's class several times when they have that career day, parent day thing. And it's funny because as he got older, my presentation changed. I started out when he was like in first grade, and I went in and told the first graders what it meant to be an insurance adjuster. Very challenging. I'm going to tell you something. I put a lot of prep into that because even though I knew very quickly what it meant to be an insurance adjuster, I had to make my presentation suitable for 6-year-olds. And I really had to think about what would make it interesting. You know, you're up against firemen and doctors and stuff like that. But I had to bring in little cars, and I had a little ambulance, and you know, all kinds of things like that. And I gave them cars. And it changed. I went back to the school 3 or 4 more times, and as he got older, the presentation changed. But knowing who the audience is, why they're there, is really going to be a factor as you're doing your preparation. That's why it's on here. Your purpose, are you trying to get them to do something? Do you want people to take action? Are you teaching them something? Do you want them to walk out with data? I mean, you should always know the goal. Why are you in a room, and why are you talking to people? The occasion, is it training? Is it informative? Are you conveying results or data? Keynote speaker, you know, somebody who's there to energize people and motivate people. These are different factors that can impact your presentation. Next, we talk about organization. You can have a lot of things written down about what you want to say, but if you don't know how you're going to say it, you really need to organize ahead of time. It includes props, flip charts, PowerPoints. Really think about things like that. You may find that you have this much data that you want to talk about, but you can sit there and say, you know what, I could use a prop right there. If I brought in a such and such, that would really be impactful. Those are things that oftentimes make presentations memorable. You also want to think about stories. What kind of personal stories do I have that I could share that would be relevant to that? I know I passed out my kids' report card to a group of 80 people in Alabama at one time because it was impactful and it had to do with something we were talking about. Right? But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't have thought about it ahead of time, thinking, how can I make this impactful? What can I do that people will remember? So these are the type of things that are part of preparation and organization. Okay, when we move into introductions, credibility, and rapport, we're going to kind of throw that all together. In your introductions, if the people don't know who you are, you're going to make sure that you talk to them about your background, who you are, why you're there, who chose you to speak, and why. I mean, otherwise, people are not going to want to listen to you. You have to explain to them why you have value to them as a speaker. Rapport is a little different. Okay? If you can establish rapport with people before you start speaking, that's going to go huge for you. It's going to help you feel more comfortable when you are up here in that uncomfortable situation. Okay? You're going to have friends in the crowd. You're going to have people that you talk to. Remembering people want you to succeed. They're going to be smiling at you. They're going to be nodding. People send you love. Okay? When you are up here, this is a two-way street. Okay? You're talking to people, you're making eye contact, you're telling them stories, and you know what you see? You see little nods, little smiles. When you do, they're giving you love. That gives you energy. You know what you do then? You give it right back to them. It's a two-way street. It's very high energy when you're up here. If you end up with a crowd that's snoozing and they're falling asleep on you, you're going to feel the same way. If you do this, and you start going, all right, well, this afternoon we're going to talk about this, and you know what you guys are going to do? You're going to fall asleep too. All right, so it's important you have a bond with people. Number 5 talks about a cross-cultural audience. I don't really understand it. I would suggest that your presentation should always be appropriate for a cross-cultural audience. I can't think of a time when it would be good for you not to have a presentation that's good for a cross-cultural audience. Be aware that what is sensitive changes constantly, and that your definition may be different from other people. It's always a good idea to have somebody listen to what you're going to say in advance. Keep in mind too, one of my personal tips, I do not curse in front of a classroom, never have and hopefully never will. Some people find that that is impactful. Some trainers like it. Oh, you say a curse word and they all wake up. They know you're serious. But you know what? You could be offending people in the room. Lots of people find that offensive. So I would suggest that you don't do that as a matter of course. As we move on, the presentation appealing, we'll talk a little bit more about flip charts and PowerPoint slides later in the day. And we're going to talk about how to make them more effective and more visual. Just real quick, what colors can we not use on our flip charts? Yellow, yes, what else? Pink? Yeah, pink is the other one. And red and orange. I jotted down, like I said, we'll go back through this afternoon. Red, orange, pink, and yellow. You don't want to use them on your charts unless you're highlighting something else. They do not show up in the back of the room. Okay, let's go down there to 10, talked about delivery skills. Grammar and pronunciation. You can't really change your grammar. Hopefully you have appropriate speaking grammar. If not, then you need to do something remedial. But you don't want to use street slang unless you're using it from a humor perspective. Your body language, we've touched on. We're going to do some body language exercises. But again, the fact that we have all these things that are out here and we don't know what to do with them, you pretty much need to find a comfort zone. What your hands do is going to appear unnatural until you forget you have hands. Okay? I know that sounds funny, but if you're worried about your hands, that's when you're doing hand things. That's when you're twisting your ring. Or, here's a classic one. People say, my hands are a problem, so I'm going to do this. What? Hold a pen, right? And then what do we do? Here's another one. Rocking. Okay? Ladies, if you have heels, we do this a lot. We tip back and forth on our high heel and we rock on our heel. Why do we do that? I don't know, because we have heels. Men don't do this, but women tend to do it. So these are exercises that we're going to work on later in the class that are going to help us become comfortable with our body language, make us aware of what we specifically are doing and how we can change it. Again, what makes it go away is comfort level. When you stop thinking about your hands and your feet, then they behave themselves and they appear natural. So how do we do that? How do we stop thinking about them? Talked about preparation. What's the other thing we need to do? Yeah, practice. Okay? Practice makes perfect. And not just practice makes perfect. What? Perfect practice makes perfect. That's why we're going to practice speaking in here, because you're not going to become a better speaker unless you practice speaking. You need to get up here and you need to do it. It's never going to go away if you don't do it. I've had a fear of public speaking for years, and it only goes away when I get up here and do it. Okay? You have to practice. You have to do it. You have to become comfortable with the process. You can sit in a table and read about it and take notes on it for years and years and years, but it's not going to get better unless you actually stand up here, become comfortable with the process. Okay? That's where we're going to start. We're going to move into our exercises on eye movement, body language, and voice later this afternoon. Okay? All right, thanks.